Hello everyone, I'm Vico. Welcome to my channel Vico and Crypto. Today we are going to talk about the most significant, most substantial enhancement or advancement of blockchain technology till date, and it is called DeFi. The full form is called Decentralized Finance. Some of the platforms have become so big, they are ready to challenge how their counterparts are working in the centralized industry. But before understanding what these platforms are, we need to understand what decentralized finance is, how actually these platforms are made, what the business models are like. Do we see a future with DeFi platforms? But before that, let's start by understanding what DeFi is, how different it is from traditional finance. What was the need of bringing DeFi into the picture? What were the problems that were existing with the traditional finance ecosystem? And how we are solving those problems with blockchain, with smart contracts, via automation, and most importantly, via decentralization. So now one common problem which we have always discussed with the traditional finance products are, they are slow, the fees are very high, it is not accessible by everybody. There is a very large group of people, of poor people who are not able to access these financial services. Adding to this, these financial services, they are centralized, they are under a control of centralized bodies. Now this centralized system, it has its own flaws. For example, we have to completely rely on these centralized bodies. Like in one of my previous videos, I shared the example of two villages. One which has a panchayat type of system where the transactions are happening based on democratic voting process. Second, where let's say the head of the village or sarpanch is maintaining the all the transactions between the villagers. Considering that example and also what the current financial ecosystem looks like, we have to very heavily rely on all the systems, on the policies that are created by these centralized bodies. Adding to this, these centralized institutions control everything. By everything, I mean storing of our funds, allocation of our funds, transferring of our funds, maintaining the ledgers, maintaining the whole database of financial transactions, creating financial securities, how they can be created, how they can be supplied, how they can be traded. The whole rule book, plus the whole validation, plus the whole control, plus the whole storage, they're all maintained, or they are all in control of these centralized institutions. With this centralization, we also saw that other than trust, these organizations are not transparent, and whatever data they are releasing out to the public, we have to completely rely on that data. Adding to this, there is one more consideration which we should be worried about, is it being a single point of failure. Till today, we have seen many a times that banks have gone completely bankrupt, they have completely collapsed. In those cases, all the users who were having their funds stored in that bank, they have lost all their funds. The last thing I want to point out is innovation. Right now, what we see is all the innovations that are happening in the fintech ecosystem, or let's say the technologies they are trying to build, they have become cumbersome. Because of the centralization, not everybody is able to participate in that innovation. Things are not same in the case of decentralized finance. I will tell you why. Right now, I have explained all the points which are on the traditional finance side. We will jump back to what the points on the decentralized finance look like and why they have been written like this. But let's start by understanding what a DeFi is. In very simple words, what we're trying to do in DeFi is whatever financial services that are existing in the current world, we will try to decentralize the whole process, its operations. Now, what are these financial services? Something very as simple as payments. You want to pay somebody. Remittances, lending, borrowing, storage of your money, insurance, trading of assets. In the DeFi or in the decentralized finance, we will decentralize the whole background or the whole technology that it is being built upon. We will decentralize how the whole validation and authentication of the database or all the processes that are involved works. We will try to decentralize the governance of these organizations and also of these services. What we want to do with decentralized finance and the whole disruption which we're talking about with decentralized finance, it is that now we have the technology that can give users a full individual control of their assets. Adding to this, it will also give complete open and permissionless accessibility to these sources. In DeFi, what we are trying to do is we are trying to remove the middleman or the intermediary, which is helping in again all the financial services. And instead of this intermediary, we are trying to make the entire process peer-to-peer. By peer-to-peer, I mean the humans will interact with each other directly, and there will be a platform that will help them to interact. This platform is not controlled by anybody. Anybody can become a participant of the platform, or let's say a marketplace, and they can utilize the services that are offered by that platform or by that marketplace. This platform is also completely decentralized. How it is decentralized? The funds or the assets that you are storing in this platform, they are completely in your control. The transaction you are making, they are happening on blockchain, which means all the database that will be maintained about your transactions, it will be decentralized. How it will be decentralized? All the validators or the miners that are working behind the blockchain to maintain that database. So with this whole peer-to-peer process, what we are trying to do is we are trying to remove the intermediary. We are trying to remove the whole package of power which was controlled or which was held by a centralized institution. Plus, we are trying to democratize or decentralize the whole governance of that institution. I will start with a very simple example, and this is an example which I have also used in one of my previous videos. Let's say there is a transaction that needs to be happen. Bob wants to send some money to Alice. Right now, Bob needs to go to the bank. He needs to tell the bank or access his net banking facilities, log into his account, ask the bank to send the money to Alice, request. Now the bank accepts his request, deducts the money from his bank account, adds the same amount of money to the receivers, that is Alice's bank account, and the transaction happens. In between, it might be a possibility that bank might charge a transaction fee to transfer funds from one account to another account. In a decentralized transaction, this is not the case. Bob, again, will take the help of the blockchain. The whole transaction will happen directly between Bob and Alice. Like you already know the entire process, how it happens in blockchain. In DeFi, this centralized institution is replaced by millions and millions of miners who are working to validate the transactions or who are working to add the blocks in the blockchain. This is the core layer where the entire decentralization is happening. It is because of the blockchain and smart contracts the whole DeFi ecosystem is existing. One of the largest DeFi ecosystem, it is still existing on Ethereum. And what I'm showing you right now, I can tell you it is not even 20% of it, what is existing right now, if we add up all the blockchains that are existing. But this is a fact that till today, finance has seen the largest use case of blockchain technology, and that use case has been starting to call as decentralized finance. And like I just mentioned, the whole DeFi ecosystem is existing because of blockchain and smart contracts. I'm assuming that you guys already know how blockchain functions. I'm directly jumping into what smart contracts are. In very simple words, smart contracts are programs. They run on blockchain. One thing and the only sentence you need to remember about smart contracts is smart contracts execute automatically if certain conditions are met. That's all what a smart contract is. The only thing is that whatever these conditions are, add these conditions into the smart contract while it is being written. Smart contract is just lines of code. It is not a contract like a paper. It is not smart. It is not smart that it is made of AI or something. No. So in simple words, smart contract, it is neither smart nor it is a contract. We call it smart contract because we code the agreement, or let's say all the conditions into lines of code, and whenever these conditions are met, smart contracts executes an activity. How these smart contracts are used in DeFi or in decentralized finance, I will tell you using some of the examples. But first, what we need to know or what we need to remember about smart contracts is one thing that smart contract is definitely offering. It is that it is bringing a certain level of automation. For example, let's say if I have put a smart contract like if A condition is met, B executes. Now let's say if I add an additional smart contract following that, which says that if the B condition is met, C executes. Now let's say if I add another condition and I create a chain of these smart contracts, you can see the type of automation it can bring, that only if the A condition was met, B executed, then following that C executed, then following that D executed, E, F, G. As I mentioned, developers can code any sophisticated or advanced level of automation using smart contract. This is just an example of how smart contracts work and how they can be used in the financial ecosystem. Now let's say Bob wants to sell his house to John. Now Bob and John can come together, they can create some terms and conditions, and these conditions can be coded in a smart contract. Okay, I will dive a little deeper into this example. Now let's say Bob wants to sell his house to John for, let's say, now Bob will deposit the ownership agreement or the ownership papers in a digital format into the smart contract. John will deposit, let's say, $100,000 also into the smart contract. Now smart contract, let's say we have written a very simple condition into the smart contract, that is, as soon as John deposits $100,000 into the smart contract, the exchange of assets happen. This is Bob's digital document of his house ownership. These are $100,000, of course, again in digital format. The smart contract condition is executed. Now you can clearly see we have, with the help of blockchain and with the help of the smart contracts, there are some very crucial benefits that are starting to exist in the DeFi space. Here are 6 of them. What these 6 are, I think you already understand most of them. I will just tell you the very important ones first. For example, let's start with the first one, permissionless. Permissionless means the whole DeFi ecosystem is open. That's why sometimes it is also called as open finance. By open, it means anybody can exit, anybody can enter. It is completely accessible by everybody in the world. All you need maybe is a wallet and internet. That is your only requirement if you want to interact or participate in the DeFi ecosystem. That's it. And the participation is not only limited to being a transactor or to being a customer or user of the DeFi space. You can also participate in the governance of the platform. You can also contribute in the code, in the smart contracts, in finding the bugs of the platform. All the DeFi platforms or the organizations that are existing, they are completely open source. And this is one of the most significant advantage of DeFi over traditional finance. The innovations that can happen in the DeFi space, just because everybody is able to participate in it, they're enormous. Second is decentralization, that we already know how it takes place using blockchain. Third is trustless. But trustless, it means we don't have to rely or completely rely on a centralized institution. Because the transaction is happening peer-to-peer, because we don't have to rely on a centralized body to store our funds, because we don't have to be worried what will happen if the centralized organization goes down. We don't have to trust anybody because all the laws or all the rules of the ecosystem, they are coded. They are simply in the lines of code and they are run by smart contracts. If the conditions will be met, the DeFi platform will continue to operate. So this way, the whole code and the automation of that code is creating a trustless environment. Next is transparent. Everything in the DeFi ecosystem is transparent. Even the code, each line of code that is used in building the DeFi platform, it is transparent. You can go and read them on the GitHub profile. All the proposals that are being made to the platform to, let's say, bring any kind of a change in their operations or in the assets they are listing, anything, it's all transparent. And you can also participate in those operations. So everything in the DeFi ecosystem is completely transparent. The second is censorship resistant. Yes, it is censorship resistant because it is not managed by an institution. Also, it is not controlled by an institution. It is censorship resistant. Nobody can come and censor a DeFi platform. Why? Because everything that is happening internally, or let's say in the background of the DeFi platform, it's not a centralized body. The whole blockchain technology and the smart contracts, with the help of validators, miners, programmers, developers, it's them who are managing it. It is completely impossible to censor any part of a DeFi platform. Last one is programmable. Programmable, again, it simply means all the contracts that are being built or that will be created in the DeFi platform, they are programmable. They are in the smart contracts. And like I said, if you want to participate in the DeFi platform, you just have to adhere to the rules and the laws of the DeFi platform. Simple. Everything is coded. The whole, let's say, constitution of a DeFi platform is coded in the code. So these were some of the main features that make DeFi such an interesting and such a successful use case of the blockchain technology. Now the question comes, what are the things or what type of platforms come under DeFi? If I have to go a little back into the history, MakerDAO was one of the first DeFi platform or DeFi company to exist. It has been quite a few years. The company was founded back in 2014. The other company that brought lending and borrowing on Ethereum blockchain for the very first time, and it became quite a successful platform. It was Compound Finance. Now, using some of these examples, I will try to explain to you how these different type of companies that are working, and some of the very famous ones, how they are working in the DeFi space. I will not go very much into the details. I will make a very detailed descriptive videos later. But right now we will just try to understand all the types of platforms that have been built in the DeFi ecosystem.